Hello, everybody. It is season 3. I don't even know what episode we're on right now, but we're gonna just go.
We've given it up.
We've just given up counting.
Yeah.
We just know that we're doing it, and it's lots of fun.
It is.
So,
we're having way too much fun to be bothered with stuff like numbers.
Yep. We are episode 3, or we are season 3. Yes, we are season 3.
Yes, that part
okay.
I do know.
We're good.
Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. So, all right. So earlier we were talking about beach vacations and how wonderful they are, and how
we need one.
Need one. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
That was the essential part of that.
So I'm gonna say this is a great segue into what I'm going to talk about today.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about Terry Jo Duperrault.
Okay, I don't know that one.
All right. I really didn't know either until I was doing just a random. So a lot of times I'll just do random searches to see what I want to cover, and this one came up.
Okay.
So supposed to be a fun trip at sea. This optometrist named Arthur Duperrault.
Is Terry a man or a woman?
Terry's a girl. She was actually a little girl.
A little girl.
11-year-old. Well, she's now a woman.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good.
Okay, so she's a woman now.
I was going to say, if you start off a crime show with a man and woman going to sea, it's never going to end well for the woman. Ever.
Well, this is actually true here too.
Okay.
Okay, so let me talk, Dia.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying to throw in some colorful commentary.
Okay. So this was November 8th, 1961. So,
I do know this story.
Do you?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's a great okay.
It is a great story. And I had heard it, but then I had forgotten it, and then I found it again. And I'm like, oh, this will be a good one.
Hey.
Okay, so
1961.
This family decides that husband and wife, Arthur, who's an optometrist in Wisconsin, decided that he wanted to take his family. Ultimately, they really kind of wanted to move to the Bahamas or spend an extended vacation traveling through the islands. But they decided they were going to take a week, and they were going to give it a try, see if they liked it.
See
if
you
they
like the
it.
Bahamas from Wisconsin.
Yep. So he was joined with his wife Jean, his son 14, Brian, his daughter Terry Jo, who was 11, and then Renee, who was I believe 7. So they hired somebody that Arthur had known from the past. He was a retired, he was an Air Force fighter, retired pilot named Julian Harvey. So they hired Julian Harvey to be the captain of this boat, and then his wife Deanne, who was actually I think it's pronounced Dina. It's Dene. Dina. So Dina was actually his 6th wife. So.
Oh wow.
Yep. So she was hired to be the cook.
Okay.
So they all set out on a 4-day trip, traveling the island chain of Bimini, and then snorkeling, collecting shells, and then the last part they were going to end up in Sandy Point, which I really don't know. This could be Sandy Point. It could be Sandy Point. I don't know.
Describing the Bahamas. It's very loose. This gesture.
May I remind everybody I went to Catholic school. In Catholic school, we had to have theology class, and because of theology, we didn't have geography. Priorities. Yes. So,
I gotta be honest, though, if I was in the Bahamas, I wouldn't pay too close attention.
That's exactly right. So on that Sunday, the Duperraults and the Harveys ended up going and basically filling out the appropriate paperwork so they could go back into the United States. And Arthur was overheard saying that he was hoping to come back with the family for Christmas. They were going to start making this a full-time thing.
Aww. Okay, sorry. That was a sad look.
So they returned back to the ship where they were going to have their final dinner together. And they had a dinner of chicken cacciatore and salad. Okay?
Good job, Dina.
I know. So about 9 o'clock that night, Terry Jo decided she was going to go to bed. And then everybody else was kind of up on the bridge in the cabin with the, what is it called? It's not the cockpit. That's
the steering wheel for the...
Yeah.
The boat steering wheel. We are sailors.
That's exactly right. So up where the captain sat to drive the boat. So Terry Jo normally shared, what is it called?
The deck?
The deck, but then there's the galley?
That was the kitchen.
The port? Starboard?
We're awesome at this.
Oh my gosh. So she normally shared her room with Renee, but they all decided to stay up there.
Okay.
So she went to bed, And she ended up, woke up suddenly and she heard, "Help, Daddy, help." She thought she heard her brother screaming, "Help."
Ooh.
Okay. So she kind of was like trying to get oriented. Thank you. I like orientated better.
It works.
And so she started crawling up kind of climbing up the stairs. And so the galley had been turned into, it was like a kitchen and a dining room during the day. And at night it became a bedroom.
Oh,
Okay. So she saw her mother and her brother crumpled up in a pool of blood.
Ooh.
Okay. Mm. So she freaked out, and then she saw Captain Harvey ended up kind of coming towards her. It looked like he was carrying something in his hand. So she climbed back down and basically hid in bed. So soon the whole cabin started smelling of oil, like really strongly oil, and water started seeping in. Mm. So Terry Jo stayed in bed as long as she could. And then soon she realized that she couldn't stay there any longer. So she waded through the water, went up the stairs, and is looking around, kind of freaking out. And she yells, "Is the boat sinking?" And at that point, Captain Harvey comes up behind her and is very gruff with her and is like, "Yes, it's sinking." He hands her the rope to the lifeboat. He says, "Hold this." And then she lets it go. And as she lets it go, he decides to dive in after the lifeboat. So he dives in after the lifeboat, leaving Terry Jo on the boat, the sinking boat, by herself. Okay, so she kind of like trying to figure out what's going on. She's watched the boat go under. Parts of the boat is already starting to go completely under. And she remembers a little lifeboat that her dad had shown her, like off the captain area where...
The captain's cockpit.
Yes, the captain's cockpit. Off the main cabin, starboard and port, up the mast. Yes.
Nailed it.
Yes. So she went and she got it and she retrieved it, and it was basically a piece of cork, essentially, with like netting. And I'll post the picture. There's netting on it, and then there's cork, and then there's like an inflatable area on the side. It was only 2 foot by 5 foot.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
So very small.
Yeah.
She was able to get into the water, and as soon as she got it into the water, she pushed it off, and the ship sank.
Yeah.
So she was like, "Oh my gosh!" So it started sinking deeper and deeper and deeper. And so she gets it, pushes it out. The rope catches around the ship and starts going down. So it actually pulls her and the boat down.
Oh.
And so thankfully at the last minute it popped off, and so basically it popped right back up out of the water. So she was able to hold on. She was able to stay on it. So she proceeds. I mean, she's freaking out. She's like, it's cold. She's wet. She was only wearing like a little white t-shirt and some corduroy pants, which just the thought of wet corduroy makes me like just want to throw up.
Just hanging. Just
yeah. It's not the murder of her family. It's not the days on sea. It is the
wet corduroy
pants. So she spends the night huddled on the raft, afraid that she's going to see Captain Harvey.
Yeah.
Just freaking out. So there was rain that night. She was freezing. She didn't think she was going to make it. But then fortunately, the sun came up the next morning. But as the sun came up, it got to be 85 degrees. So she was going back and forth from being freezing cold to super, super hot. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's the first day. The second day, the boat starts disintegrating. So she's literally dangling her feet.
Because it's just cork.
Yes. She's dangling her feet in the water. There's sharks on top of the parrotfish that are coming and biting at her little feet. So that's releasing blood into the water, of course.
Oh.
Yeah. So this goes on. She's looking everywhere for somebody to save her. One point she sees a plane flying over, but unfortunately, so she was waving her shirt, trying to get his attention, but the way his angle was, he was not able to see her. So she really had started to kind of give up hope. So 84 hours later,
I can't imagine.
a captain on a Greek freightliner ended up seeing something in the distance. And the way between the boat and her shirt and her blonde hair, she looked like a white cap. So the ocean was full of those white caps. And so nobody could see her. But by some freak instance, he saw and was like, that doesn't look right. So he convinced the entire freightliner to go over to where she is.
Which is incredible.
Insanely incredible.
So he went up to the captain's cockpit.
up the mast,
up the mast,
to the starboard,
and the port,
and peeked in the porthole. He was actually stepping on the mermaid on the front.
This is historically accurate.
Oh my gosh. So they ended up, and it's actually one of the most famous pictures because it made times all the different things, and it's basically they took a picture of her, and she's kind of looking up in the boat, and you can just see how raggedy this boat really is. And she could hardly believe that she had been saved. It took them hours to get her off the boat because of the fact the sharks were swarming so bad. And so they ended up doing kind of a makeshift thing, and they finally got her where they were able to get a rope around her chest and haul her up.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. She basically got up. She pretty much passed out instantaneously. They were putting orange juice and water on her mouth and her tongue as they were trying to get her to the Coast Guard. Mm-hmm. She was able to tell the captain who she was and what boat she was on and what kind of she had seen. So that's where it's over. It's ended.
No, way better. I know on this one it's not.
Yes.
And it's funny you mentioned the picture because when you first started talking, when I realized what case it was, that was what came to mind was that picture.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy story. So, interestingly enough, Harvey was actually picked up by the United States Coast Guard. Mm. He had the body of Renee with him in a little life jacket. So he claimed that he found the life jacket. He tried to revive her, but she had drowned, and he kept the body in honor of the family.
Okay. That does not sound.
No, fuck yourself.
No hero medal for him.
No, the doctors did conclude that she had drowned though. Mm. So there was at least that. Okay. But so he's being interrogated by the Coast Guard, and he receives word that Terry Jo is in fact alive.
Oh no.
Yeah. So he immediately says, it's time for me to talk to my wife's family. I need to tell them how sorry I am. I need to go.
I need to amend my story.
Yes. So he decides that he is going to check into a hotel and then proceeds the next day to cut himself in the jugular, in the thigh, and on the ankle. Oh. So they walk in to clean the room. There's a little blood on the bedspread. He is dead in the...
Oh my goodness.
He wrote a very extensive note saying basically that he was a wreck. He couldn't contain himself any longer to a friend and proceeded to kill himself because he knew that now that Terry Jo was alive, that it was going to actually come back and he was going to be caught.
Wow. So the trash took itself out again.
Exactly. We like it when that happens. Wow. So it turns out that he had drowned his wife, his sixth wife, because she had a $20,000 double indemnity insurance policy. So if she died in an accident, he would actually make $40,000, which is a really low amount. I mean, I know it's the 60s, but that's a really sucky. I mean, $40,000 for a human life. I mean,
I mean, yes, it is, and you shouldn't kill.
Yeah.
But tough times, I guess.
Yes. Well,
did they look into those other 5 wives?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
And his second wife died in a car accident with her mother.
So he took out the wife and the mother-in-law at the same time.
Yes. And actually, they said it would be very difficult for him to have survived the accident. He went over a 15-foot embankment into water, and he was driving the car, and miraculously he survived. So he would have almost had to plan out when he would have jumped out of the car to survive the accident.
Could he have jumped out before it went over the cliff?
Yes, that's what they think.
Okay.
Yeah. So he had to have planned essentially, because it wasn't going to be something that was going to be really easy. Whew. He also had 2 other boats that had either burnt to the ground or been destroyed that he had large insurance policies on. Oh. So he had a history of doing this stuff. Yeah. So Terry Jo, who is, by all accounts, I mean, it's amazing that she'd survived. She ended up losing her entire family that day. She's now an adult. She went to work for the water department, it's like the water resources and water regulations. Okay. So she actually turned this god-awful thing that happened on the water into something that a career she was proud of. And she always felt more at home on the water than not. So
that's really shocking. That's like getting back on the horse after it.
Yeah. So she worked hard to kind of form that affinity with water. Because of what happened, the Coast Guard then decided also that they were going to change the color of the lifeboats from white to orange, so they'd be more visible when they're seen in the water. And so she is married with 6 kids. She has like, at the time of the article I was reading, she had 5 grandkids. I'm sure she has more with 6 kiddos. And she hadn't talked about her ordeal until 1988. She went on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and Oprah reignited her with the captain that saved her. And so I guess it was a really good story. And she now just does a ton for water regulation. I think she's actually retired now. And living in Wisconsin.
Really?
So, yes. So that is the story of Terry Jo Duperrault.
So Julian, he killed his wife and then just decided to kill the other family
because they think that after she cooked dinner, he drowned her, and he thinks because there was nothing written in the letter. There's all this speculation.
Okay.
That essentially Arthur saw him drown his wife, and then so he proceeded to kill the entire rest of the family.
So he was probably going to use it as an opportunity to kill his wife. So it wasn't necessarily anything against Arthur and his family.
It was just bad timing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just bad timing. Wrong place, wrong time, and it was actually very sad because they had known each other. They'd known him for quite a while. So yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And that's interesting that he didn't kill Terry.
No, and that's again, they never see no speculation in that letter. There's no, I'm sorry, there was no reason why he left Terry alive. A lot of people speculate that he either wanted to be caught, which I don't necessarily believe. I honestly think it was the fact that she dropped the rope, and he immediately just went overboard and was like, "Oh, she's gonna drown anyway."
Yeah, he was already just banking on.
Yep. So he said, and his recount of what happened to the ship is about how we describe ships. So basically, there was
accurately
a squall that came up, knocked the mast down. The mast crushed the family, Arthur and the kids.
All of them. They were in a line, perfectly for the mast to come down.
And then broke open the hull, and so the water came pouring in. And then there was a gas fire that exploded, and so he was able to get off and attempt to save Renee.
So he took no responsibility for that.
No.
Just his wife's.
Well, and he didn't even really take responsibility for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So not quite. It's all speculation, but they're pretty confident that's what, with his history of things, they're pretty confident.
Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. So he's going to go to the extent of killing himself, but still not. Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
He wrote a 2-page suicide note, and none of it was. There was no explanation and no apology. Just that he was a nervous wreck.
I have zero sympathy for that.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
That you're nervous about killing people.
Gosh darn.
Yeah.
Hate it when that happens.
But also, him keeping the little girl's body, I wonder if that was, see, I'm getting into the psychology, if that was remorse or if it was...
Look what I did. I think it was more of, look what I did to try to save this little girl.
Okay, so he was trying to stick to his, the mast fell down story.
I'm a really good guy.
Jeez, okay.
I just have all these unfortunate things happen to me. Starboard port.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. So, I didn't know all those details. I just knew the general idea.
And it's really, there's some pretty, she was, the way, they called her like the sea waif, and then what do they call her? Like the little, not the Little Mermaid, but it was something, the sea waif was the big one. But there's the very ethereal pictures of her unconscious, very sunburnt, very toe-headed, with really chapped lips, and she's just like so like, it's very sweet, but I can't even imagine being on that ship and being like, there's an 11-year-old girl in the water.
Yeah.
And there's some sharks.
Yeah.
She's on a quark raft.
The level of, and I'm sure they're probably used to it if they're on a ship, but I think the level of panic that I would have I would not be helpful in that situation, because I'd be like, I'd probably jump in to try and save her. I don't know.
I'd be
fist fight the
sharks.
sharks.
I'd be like, look, shark! Boop. Somebody's nose needs a booping.
Because they're taking you down, gnawing off your leg. Boop for you, boop for you.
Boopity boop boop boop.
Come here, parrotfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
I didn't claim to be the brightest. But I wouldn't know which side I went over. Sharks on the starboard! That's the point!
What side are you on? This side!
Left!
Yeah. If the sun was setting, I could at least get the north, south, east, west, but if it's like noontime, there's no... I got nothing for you.
Yeah, I'd be like, I don't know.
The water side.
Well, I see nothing.
You got water over there? Yeah, I got water over here. You got water over there? I got water over here.
We're good. Yeah, so.
Okay.
So, there we go.
I'm so glad it's a happy ending.
It is a happy ending. So I didn't do an unsolved.
Thank you.
I did happiness.
Yes.
Happiness.
Nothing but happiness with sharks and...
I mean, sharks make me happy, but I'm a little weird.
Not circling around an 11-year-old.
No, that would
child.
make me a little nervous.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would be like, if the 11-year-old was out of the water, I'd be like, ooh, sharks.
I agree.
So,
I would totally want to boop their nose.
I would too.
But if the 11-year-old is in the water, I gotta be honest, I would elbow drop them.
Yeah, I probably would too. I want to actually go, and my mom is like, I want to actually go cage diving with sharks.
Have you seen how they've come through sometimes?
Oh, yeah. I'd be totally like, she's like, Jenny, you're going to lose a hand. I don't care. I'll lose it happy.
If he bites my hand off, it means more sharks.
What a cool story.
As he bites your hand off, as you've got a stump there, and blood is pouring out, they're like, Jenny, we need to go. You're like, no.
Come on,
bring in more.
Be like
Waving more.
What is it, like 4th of July?
You're going to be a sparkler. You're chumming the water with your own blood.
Yes. Wow, this took a dark turn.
That's just a peek into our everyday normal conversation.
Yep. We're going to need a bigger cage.
For our Jenny chum.
Oh my gosh. So I think we'll leave on that note.
Okay, let's do it. I don't think it probably can't get much worse. We probably should end it there. Okay.
So, all right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Have a great rest of your week.
Bye.